Hey guys, my name is Nora Franch, and welcome to the podcast Grateful Blessed Mess, daily reflections for those in the 12 steps. I am a fellow 12-stepper and certified mindset coach, and I am here to introduce you to the value of mindset coaching in your 12-step journey. So if you feel like you are stuck in the steps, if you're slipping and sliding with your abstinence, mindset coaching may help you as it did me, and you can find me at CatholicMindsetCoaching.com. These episodes are meant to invite you in to consider the truths of 12-step wisdom and to join in the very real struggle of living them in action. I hope that it feels almost like a mini meeting, and I invite you to contribute your own share on the Grateful Blessedness Facebook group to keep the discussion going. My comments are based on my own experience, so feel free to take what you like and leave the rest. But my hope is to encourage you on your own daily 12-step journey. As they say, you cannot stay clean on yesterday's shower. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, we're reading from A Day at a Time, November 27th. The program shows us how to transform the pipe dreams of our past into reality and true sense of purpose, together with a growing consciousness of the power of a higher power in our lives. It's all right to keep our heads in the clouds with Him, we're taught, but our feet should remain firmly planted here on earth. Here's where other people are. Here's where our work must be accomplished. Do I see anything incompatible between spiritual and a useful life in the here and now? Today I pray, may my new reality include not only the nuts and bolts and pots and pans of daily living, but also my spiritual reality, my growing knowledge of the presence of my higher power. May this new reality have room too for my dreams. Not the drug-induced, mind-drifting fantasies of the past or the remnants of my delusions, but the products of a healthy imagination. May I respect these dreams, anchor them in Earth's possibilities, and turn them into useful creativity. Today I will remember, heaven has a place in the here and now. And I think it's really interesting that they point out the importance of being in both, like the spiritual realm and the physical realm, because we are both, spiritual and physical beings. And it's not that sometimes we're one and sometimes we're the other, but to somehow hold each in our hand, like at the same time, in one hand. And so together they can coexist. They cross over. And I don't know about you. They talk about the mind-drifting, drug-induced fantasies of the past. I could relate to that. I can relate to just being miserable and fantasizing that, things were different, that I hadn't done certain things, or that I was just a different person, or that I was someone else. These fantasies that are just completely disconnected with reality, but I would hunger after them so badly that it was in a way like an escape in and of itself to just wish to be different. And I did not dream of an actual concrete plan of my future self, of someone who I wanted to become. I just didn't. I kind of thought that it was just something that happened as you went along, as you were supposed to, as you should. And when I started doing this work and I was asked, what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? I couldn't answer those questions. Like, what do you want? Who do you want to be in 10 years? I don't know. Someone a little bit better than I am right now. Is that a good answer? And I think a lot of us are in that place and don't realize that is not a successful way of going about becoming the best person you can be. Without sounding trite, living life by default is not as helpful or as good as living life with a purpose and a plan. If you think about things that you really care about, that you want to make sure they happen, like a vacation or a job, you think about it in advance, you identify what it is, and you take concrete steps ahead of time to make sure it happens. You do things to improve your resume. You apply. You go to an interview. You do these things to get that job. If you want a vacation, you think of where you want to go. You look things up ahead of time. You buy tickets in advance. You plan where you're going to stay. Like we do. There are things that we can think ahead of time. Like, I want to do that, and we're able to take concrete steps to get there. But for some reason, it's different, I feel like, for a lot of us with our life, with the person we want to become. We're just like, I don't know. You just do the right thing. Like, I want to be a good person. Like, vaguely, I want to be a good person. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? What do I have to do today to make sure that's actually who I am down the road? We actually have to plan this stuff, which is funny. I think most of us think that it's just going to happen. It's just going to come together, and that, I'm generally a good person. I want good things for people. I'm not in jail or on my way there. And we take for granted the fact that actually we function best when we are working toward a goal and with a plan. And I think we're actually happier because then you can kind of see, you can track your progress in a way. And also then when you're going off track. You don't know if you're going off track if you don't even know where you're going. Does that resonate with any of you? If I want to go to Hawaii, that's a bad one. You have to fly over the water. If I want to go from one state to another state, I have to make sure I take the right highway, right? And if I just randomly get off somewhere, I'm going to know that because I'm going to know I'm not on my path. So if I want to be someone who is sober and recovered, next year, then what am I doing today to make sure that I'm working toward that goal? Am I going to meetings? Am I calling my sponsor? Am I doing my step work? And for me personally, like, I honestly still didn't intentionally work toward like being in a better emotionally secure space within my own body. I just knew that I wasn't okay. And the more I was learning about this stuff, which I found very interesting because like even learning about my emotions specifically, like being able to name what I was feeling, that was hard for me. That was something I was like, it's like, I know I'm feeling upset in some way. I know I don't like it, but I don't know what I'm specifically feeling. I don't know what that looks like for me. And so it was almost like I was drawn in by becoming intrigued by like my experience of what I was feeling. And then after that, I like almost accidentally started moving toward, accidentally and intentionally, it became like a game where I was like, well, if it's that easy, or if it's like that, if it's that logical, okay, I like singing. I'm going to go to I'm going to email the choir director, and I'm going to just ask him if I can just sing randomly, like at the church, like as a way of praying. Like when I know no one's going to be there, is it cool if I go there and I sing? And he actually said yes. And I did that for a long time. Well, it felt like a long time, on and off for about a year. I would do that. And I want to go back to that because it just gave me so much life. And it was fun. I can't explain it. It was fun to like just belt in an empty church. Something like that where it's small. It's like, well, what are you good at? Well, I'm good at singing. Like, okay. Do you enjoy it? Yeah. Well, go do something with it. Really? Really? Okay. And then I just started to try it. And like, what is something you were good at when you were a kid? Well, I did like to write. I liked writing stories or, poems on and off, or something that actually helped me when I was like really emotionally distraught, like just like getting all that energy, all that negative energy down on paper. And then it was like, okay, well, what if you started to write a little bit? Like just see what would come of that. And now I did. And then I ended up with all this poetry that I didn't think was half bad. And I was like, gosh, I would like this should go somewhere. And turns out making a book is really darn expensive, but making a blog, not so bad. And so that's how I created my blog, The Grateful Blessed Mess. And then I realized I like reflecting on things, and that's the blog post part. And so it's poetry and reflections. Um and it's funny, like I don't even remember all the steps, because once I started doing this stuff, it became so natural, because they asked me to think, what are you good at? Well, I think for a lot of us, when you think about something that you're good at, it's hard to think of it because it doesn't take a lot of effort. So it doesn't take up a lot of mental space. And so you might not even realize the things that you're good at. And it wasn't until after the fact that I even thought, like, hey, lots of times when I share in a meeting, people would say, yeah, I always like it when you're here because I really appreciate your shares, or something like that. And, or I got a lot out of your share today. And then, so when the idea for this podcast came about, it wasn't until I started doing it for a while, and then I was like, oh, people would make comments like that, you know? Maybe this is something that is easy for me and that I enjoy and get something out of, and maybe not everybody is that way. And so I think it's hard to identify things that we're good at and go after them sometimes, because it's so natural we don't notice that we're doing it. And so if you are someone who, when someone asks you, what are you good at? What do you enjoy? What do you want to do in the future? And you can't think of anything, that's fine. I think it's fine, because that was me. But maybe you can start to just like keep an eye out. And when you notice something that you do is fun or easy, or that you do it, like maybe you're even annoyed, like why aren't you doing that, or why is that so hard for you? Maybe it's like, oh, because it's actually easy for you, because you enjoy it. You enjoy keeping the house clean. The other person doesn't get the joy out of it that you do, and so they don't bother. It's more work to them, whereas it's easier for you. That's a gift that you have, actually. Or something bigger than that. But to think about who you want to become, it's helpful to know where you are, where you're starting from, and sometimes even where you started from as a little kid. And so if you're someone who, like me, didn't know where you want to go or where you want to end up, who you want to be when you grow up, and I'm still finding that out now. I really like just being on this journey of, when I grow up, I want to be XYZ, and just like, I want to have that mentality for the rest of my life. I want to be constantly aspiring to, well, when I grow up, this is going to be me. Because I'm constantly learning and growing. And I think that's a more accurate representation of like who I am, is someone who's a student, someone on the journey. And I just tend to like to pull people along whenever I'm on a journey. Like, come with me. This is really interesting. And so if it's you, if you don't know those things off the top of your head, like me, just start to notice things that you enjoy, or start to try to think about stuff that you did as a kid that you liked, or that you enjoyed, or that you were good at, or that you just gravitated towards, because chances are that's something within you that is a natural gift that actually could be resourced into something really useful or productive. It could be some way that you contribute to the world, but that is primarily like fulfilling to yourself, and could be part of who it is that you want to become when you grow up. So that was a little all over the place, but hopefully something somewhere in there touched someone's heart. And as always, if something did, comment on it on the Facebook page, or reach out to me individually. I would love to hear from anyone, just to know if something's landing, if this is helping you in some way. And if not, that's okay too. But if it is, also, spread the word, share the podcast. With that, I pass. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you feel that mindset coaching could help you on your 12-step journey, please feel free to reach out and find me at catholicmindsetcoaching.com. But more than that, it's important to me to give listeners like yourself a place where you do not need to feel alone on your 12-step journey. And for that reason, I've created a Facebook group. It's called Grateful Blessed Mess. And it's a place where listeners can go to add their own commentary on the share for the day, in addition to my own, and for us just to have a conversation or start a back and forth where people can find support in their 12-step journey. This is not a replacement for 12-step work. This is something outside of the 12 steps. It is simply something that has a heart for the 12 steps and those who are in it. And so, welcome. If you are here, chances are you may also be a bit of a mess. And I hope that you can learn to find some gratitude in the blessings that have come from your messes.